Hi, Veronika Tracy-Smith here, and today I am teaching on multiple intelligence. And I'm doing that because I want to bring more education on multiple intelligence. And first let me say that this comes based on a lot of years that I studied emotional intelligence, and of course most of us study cognitive intelligence just by learning as we grow up. And I want to talk about each of these, and particularly I want to focus on spiritual intelligence. One of my mentors is Cindy Wigglesworth, who has come up with an assessment for spiritual intelligence. And I now work doing spiritual intelligence coaching as a result of my studying with her and being mentored by her. So today I want to introduce multiple intelligence. It has been around for a while, and actually Howard Gardner opened the door to the discussion of multiple intelligence, coming up with 7 different types of intelligence in 1983 in his book, Frames of Mind. So multiple intelligence has been around in terms of discussion for a long time. But as long as there's been human beings, we've had multiple intelligence. And how we get along in the world and what we do in the world and how we function is all based on multiple intelligence. So this is just a very brief interlude into higher intelligence, emotional intelligence, and spiritual intelligence. There is a lot of benefit in developing each of these in yourself, especially if you're in a role of leadership. And if you want to do more on this planet to bring more love and compassion and wisdom to our actions. And we can all have reactions and to things that happen, but this is really about looking at yourself. And it's also part of my teaching on meditation and bringing a little bit more intelligence really into our practices of meditation. But I also want to make this broader for anyone who sees this on YouTube as well. So first, let's talk about multiple intelligence. Howard Gardner talks about 7 types of intelligence. Today, I'm going to talk about 4. So the first one, the first thing that we develop from being a little tiny baby, from the day we come into the world, is physical intelligence. That's right. I know you understand that. Physical intelligence is about when we're babies learning, oh, this is our hand. And we learn by putting everything in our mouth. And so you'll see that in babies, and as toddlers grow, you'll see them put everything in their mouth. So first it's whatever they can get in their mouth, what they can reach. And at first they can't even get their hands and feet in their mouth. And then they start to get their hands and feet in their mouth, and then they start to explore their world and start crawling around and trying to stand up, and you know how all of that developmental stages go. And then everything that they see in their environment, they want to put it in their mouth. So moms and dads have to clear everything out, right? So they don't swallow things that they shouldn't have. So that's physical intelligence, and the development grows as we grow. And you can look at someone with high physical intelligence as a pro athlete, a baseball player, a football player, someone who has skills, hockey players. Oh my gosh, if you've ever watched a hockey game and how they can take that puck and skate it from one end to the other, and then flip of a stick, and in goes that hockey puck right into the top shelf, they call it, in the corner in the hockey net. The skill, all the levels of skill that go with playing hockey and sports like that, that not only have endurance that goes with them, but fine motor skills from that stick and picking up the puck and throwing it in the net. So that would be physical intelligence at the highest level. So physical intelligence is one thing, and I bring this up because it's really important to look at how we take care of our physical being. First of all, what do we put into our body? Do you know that really our bodies run pretty much 98% on their own? We throw some food down, some caffeine, whatever you're eating and drinking, and we call it good. And then we look at all the things we don't do that we need to do, maybe like exercise and taking care of our body, getting our heart rate up. And it doesn't have to be extreme, but exercise elevates our heart rate, which brings our stress level down. Very important to take care of our stress level. Now, you know and I know that when we get stressed, our behavior changes, right? Sometimes stress makes us bark at our loved ones in our lives. It makes us feel more tense and tight, and we don't really operate fully optimally, because when we get tense and stressed, we usually breathe more shallow. We just breathe up here into the top of our chest. We don't breathe to the lower lobes of our chest, and we don't expand. And our brain, which is very important for our functioning and functioning optimally, is oxygen, good food, not a lot of sugar highs and lows. And taking care of our brain is a very important part of our physical intelligence as well as our cognitive intelligence, our emotional intelligence, and our spiritual intelligence. So that leads me into the next part. Cognitive intelligence is typically what we think of as intelligence, and that is when we start to learn the alphabet and numbers. We start to learn language, and that starts at a very young age. We start to learn language even when we're babbling, and even the idiosyncrasies of the place that we grew up, the people we grew up with. My mom's from Germany, and so she has a German accent, and she spoke to me a lot in German when I was a baby, and sometimes I still dream in German. When I went to high school and learned German, my ability to hear the idiosyncrasies or the small differences in language was pretty high because I had that. Now in other languages, probably not so high. So our cognitive abilities start also very young, and they grow as we go along. But mostly we think about when we take the SAT test in high school for college entrance exams, or the GRE, graduate record exam, things like that, we think about as cognitive intelligence and IQ testing. And we think that's pretty much the only type of intelligence, but it's really not true. And actually, we can keep growing our brains and creating new neural pathways in our brains, which means our brains keep functioning and growing as we grow older. We don't have to grow older, we can just keep growing. That is really important. We can play different brain games. Dr. Daniel Amen, who does a lot of SPECT scans and looks at the brain, he is a big proponent of playing brain games, and there's a lot of brain games that you can find online, so just look that up. But learning something new, if you learn one thing new every single day, it might be one word. I'll tell you, I am really not good at spelling, and I'm so grateful for spell check, because spelling is not my thing. But I do try to learn new words, and I don't do it every day, but I do try to learn one thing every day. I've expanded learning by doing videos and things like this. I'm expanding through technology. So that keeps my brain going. And also, as you get older, taking an aspirin a day helps that blood flow through your whole body, and that does help the brain as well. So there's different things that you can do to keep your cognitive abilities up and running and to keep growing. So that's another thing. Okay, so cognitive intelligence. And then we come to emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is really, there's 18 skills to that, and I'm not going to go into all of that today. But it is about knowing yourself, knowing who you are, knowing what triggers you. What are those things that bring up stress for you? If you've been traumatized or been through anything in your life that brought any trauma to you, usually that's a trigger. And it triggers a stress reaction. And also, I've been through trauma in my life, and if somebody comes up behind me and scares me, I jump. And sometimes if my husband does it, I jump, and then I try to hold my tongue, because sometimes I can get mad at him and he's not even doing anything. He's just coming to tell me something, but I'm so much into what I was doing that I don't even realize he's there. So I can be jumpy. That's an example of a stress reaction based on trauma that I've been through. Anyway, we can have different reactions. And the more that we know ourselves, then we can know, oh, this is a reaction that I have. It's not based on my partner, but my partner can definitely push my buttons. So that's about knowing yourself. But also, emotional intelligence is about understanding the mood, the atmosphere, where someone else is, being able more to see through the eyes of the other and what their emotional reaction is. It's the ability to read a room and see what's going on. You might walk into a business meeting, for example, and maybe you're the CEO or the director, and you walk in and you can feel tenseness, and you're about to introduce something new to your staff, and you can feel that. So maybe you need to deal with that first. So emotional intelligence has to do with your ability to look at yourself, know your emotional triggers, and know how you relate with other people, and then also the ability to read other people's emotions and see how they're doing and what a room would feel like when you walk into it. So emotional intelligence is really important in leadership skills, as I've kind of pointed out there. And it's also really important in your relationships, in your family. And you might see one person in your family that's maybe more emotionally intelligent than the other. You can develop these skills. They are great skills to develop. There's 18 skills that you can develop. Now this is a slide from Cindy Wigglesworth from Deep Change, and it shows physical intelligence on the bottom, then IQ, then EQ, emotional intelligence. So I wanted to show you how this stacks up. Thank you for this slide, Cindy. There's another website that you can go on, and if you get this book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, it is by Travis Bradberry and Jean Greaves. You can read this book, read the first chapter, and it sends you to the back of the book where there is an ID number that you can use, and you can use that to take the test for emotional intelligence online for free. So basically it's buying this book, and you can get it anywhere, and you buy that book and then you go online and you take that test, and it will give you an emotional intelligence score. You may choose to get some coaching around that, and they also have videos online that teach you more about emotional intelligence. So it's a whole package where you can really learn more about your emotional intelligence for a very inexpensive way. And this will help you in your relationships, it will help you at work, it will help you with your leadership skills. And what was found really over and over again actually is that emotional intelligence is actually more important than IQ, what we think of as cognitive intelligence, the math and the verbal skills. I mean, obviously you have to have some of those skills to get along in the world. And if you have an average IQ and someone else has a very high IQ, if your emotional intelligence is higher than the person who has a high IQ, and then you have more of a chance of succeeding in the workplace and in relationships. People want to feel connected, and that's one reason I do video, is because I want to teach in a way that is connecting, and I think it's much more connecting to do video than it is just to read. And it does depend on the person and how you like to take in information too. But we want to connect, and we've gotten so busy in our world that the connections have just been broken. If you have children in your life, they want to connect with you on an emotional level, and not just doing things all the time, but they want to be with you. So really, I really want to recommend that you work on your emotional intelligence.